Hi, everyone, and welcome to Indies Inside, an interview series that is dedicated to inspiring independent small businesses and creators who are making the most of this time inside as the world works together to combat the spread of coronavirus. I'm Marcy Ferry, and I'm the co founder of IndieLand.net, which is a blog dedicated to celebrating independent businesses and creators. I had initially been wanting to create a podcast where I was profiling these inspiring independents, but of course, as the world started to change, I also had to shift a little bit and think about what would be of the most value at this time. So rather than doing a traditional podcast, I thought I would take this on Zoom, take it online, and talk to these inspiring independents about how they're handling this time, how they're shifting, and how they're adjusting. I think it's important to see what folks do during this time because I think there could be a lot of innovation that comes from it. And of course, just hearing other people's stories and connecting with them in this way can help us all feel a little less alone. So I hope that you enjoy this. I'm continuing to figure out the format, how to, whether or not I'm going to have both people up on the screen at the same time or if it's just, focused on the speaker one at a time. So I've been playing with that a little bit. You'll see that as you watch, but hopefully the content is still of value to you and you enjoy it and you take home a little something inspiring after watching. I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Hi, Kassi. Thank you so much for joining us on the first Indies Inside interview series. I'm so excited to start this and have you as the first guest.
I'm so excited to be here.
I want to just get started because there may be people on here who have not met you before. Maybe they don't live in San Diego and haven't seen you at all the events. So if you want to just start by telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, how you came into creating jewelry.
Yeah, let's see. I am Kassi Grunder. My brand is Kassi Grunder Jewelry. I make high vibration jewelry to align you with your highest purpose. And I use all semi-precious and precious stones and all sterling silver, 14 karat gold fill, and solid 14K. And I have customers all over the world. And they are all really wonderful, interesting people, and I feel really fortunate for that. Yeah, and I haven't been making jewelry for that long. I took a class in undergrad that taught me a lot of basics. It was really fantastic. And then I probably didn't make jewelry again until probably maybe like 6 years ago, and I saw some earrings that I liked, but I couldn't afford them. And I was like, I think I could make that more interesting. And so kind of like riffed off of them and made something totally different for myself. That pair of earrings took about 40 hours to make. But I really loved them and then started making other things there as a hobby. And it grew from there.
It's true, isn't it? How like you start the very first time and something takes you hours upon hours to do the first time. And then you're like, but I still love this, so I have to keep going.
Yeah, they actually turned out really well, and I wore them for years. I found them again recently, and I was like, wow, that is very different from what I make now.
That's amazing. And your earrings right now are fantastic. I do want to point them
Thank
out.
you.
What
Thank
stone
you.
is that?
These are all Herkimer diamonds. Yeah, and so they're clip-ons. They don't have pierced ears. That's my secret.
Me either.
Like probably, I always forget that about you. Probably like 80% of my income comes from selling earrings. And I don't have pierced ears. So this earring. They aren't on my website because I don't always make them. But they're just Herkimers that are graded by size and then connected on my clip-on finding. And so they're really comfortable. And if I get into a fight and somebody yanks my earring off, it's not going to rip my ear out.
I love it because the first time I met you, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
And
we did.
It's so strange to find other people like me, I feel like, who don't have the pierced ears. And I remember that's why you really stood out to me because we had this whole discussion about how you could adapt the earrings and how I could still have fun with earrings, even though my ears aren't pierced. And yeah, I loved that. It was like one of those personal connection moments that, made me like a lifetime customer.
Yes.
I'm actually wearing two pieces. I have the necklace here and then the bracelet that I bought that day, actually.
Yeah. You have another one too, right?
Oh, I have several. Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
Good. I was thinking, like, I feel like I've sold you multiple bracelets.
I'm obsessed
Yeah,
with the bracelets. I usually stack them
that's
up
awesome.
pretty high. And of course, like whenever I'm working though in an office, like if I've got all my jewelry on and everybody hears me with my mouse, but
Yeah. I had a moment in time, like, over 10 years ago, and I found like these really super skinny, brightly colored Indian bangles at some store. And I think I bought like 5 of them at some import store and was like, I really like these. Um, and being, kind of an extra person, um, the next time I saw them, I bought like literally they went from like my entire wrist until like they couldn't move anymore. Um, and I was like jingling every time I walked anywhere
oh yeah,
for like
I
a
love
really
doing
long
that.
time. Yeah,
I
yeah,
love doing that. I think it's really fun to have like the stack, especially with the gemstone
yeah,
jewelry, because it has,
yeah,
this added layer of meaning behind it and it's
yeah.
bringing some peace and joy to you. And I actually saw the email you sent out today to all of your customers and to your email list
Mm-hmm.
and talking about in this time, and we even exchanged emails about this. It feels weird thinking, okay, what am I doing, right now? How is this going to shift because of this? And then also, will it be the same when we come out of this? And kind of in that
Mm-hmm.
lost space. And you mentioned the message that your friend had sent you, and it was
Yeah,
about the value of the jewelry and the stones, right?
yeah, yeah. So I've done a lot of different kinds of work before being a jewelry designer, and a lot of like social justice work. And so sometimes, and like some kind of coaching things and like all these human based things. And, really feel that in my work now as well. And that my jewelry work, that there's so much of a human base to it. And that my work is really about connecting people uh, with some magic, and um, with their own self, like things that remind them of who they are, what they're doing on this earth, maybe what they're doing in this season of their life. Um, but right now, during this crazy time, it's felt like my job has shifted, and that my job is really to check in on everybody that I know. And I have been doing that. And I guess I irritated my mom, and she sent me this note that was like, that's not your job. Basically, like, leave me alone, and you're annoying everyone. Um, and I cried my eyes out because I was like, but it is what I'm supposed to be doing in my life right now. This is my highest offering, and you don't appreciate it. And I talked to my friend via text, my friend Farrell, and she was like sympathetic. And then the next day she messaged me, maybe it was a couple days later even. And she's like, I just keep thinking about like what you said about like, so I said something about like, I feel like checking in on my people feels like higher importance than jewelry right now. Um, and she made the point of like, like, yeah, it's super important, but jewelry is also super important. And like, you're not just making a thing. It's not just a widget. And it reminded me of, this purpose of mine, which is like to create something that reminds people who they are, who they want to be, where they're going, where they've come from. That is more than just an object, but is a point of connection for people. So I've been trying to feel into that, and it made me want to find more ways to connect with my customers, because they're my friends and they're people who I care about in my community, and I know that their lives are still going on, and I just am not getting to see them. So hoping that I'll get to connect with them this weekend, at my digital show and tell, which I don't know how that's going to go. I'm totally nervous about it. I'm like, is this going to work out? So I've tried a couple things before and had like really bad technical glitches and just been like, okay, I guess that's not it. But so I'm going to try it and we'll see if it works. And you know, maybe I won't sell anything, but I'll at least get to say hi to some people who have really been wonderful along the way. So
Yes.
that'll be good. Yeah.
I loved that when I saw that come through. And I wonder too, I was like, oh yeah, I would love to see how these virtual sales that people are doing and virtual showcases are working out, because I think it's a whole
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
terrain to navigate.
Yeah.
And I think it could be really cool. At the same time, it is, yeah, hard doing the first one. And this is my first time doing something like this
Yeah.
too. And it's like, oh, I don't know how this is going to look. But if you choose that whole progress over perfection thing, you might be pleasantly
Yeah.
surprised. It's getting something out there that people, might need.
Yeah, totally. I've used a couple of platforms before that haven't really been a match for me. And this has been a long-term question of mine of how can I reach people digitally? Because like, one of the shows that I do the most often is the La Jolla Farmers Market. And people from all over the world come to that. And you know what it's like when you shop with me in person. It's so much different than online. And there's just no, like, I still haven't figured out how can I capture these things that I make and capture their magic in a way that communicates it to people online. And I don't feel like I know people like my website, but I don't feel like it's not fully capturing it. So how can I bring that magic in and share that magic with people? Yeah. So we're trying these things. We'll see how it goes. But I think it is I'm really curious to see how other people respond with things like this as well. I think it's a worthwhile venture. And I know that there are people who are really successful with it. One of my big concerns about it, not necessarily about what I'm doing this weekend specifically, but generally with selling online, is that so much of what has filled that space so far is people doing MLMs. And just like the kind of like scammy vibe of that girl that you happen to be Facebook friends with, like from middle school, and she messages you and she's like, "Hey, hun, what's up?"
You're like,
you want to join this cool thing? And no shade to anybody's hustle, but like there has been a lot of weirdness, like I know some really cool people who do MLMs, but I've also encountered some really sucky ones. I think we all have. And I think that the space of like, let me show you this, let me sell to you in video has been it's still got a little bit of that fart stink from LuLaRoe. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
And I will call out LuLaRoe by name because they really like fucked over a lot of people. They did them dirty. Yeah, so I feel like we're, makers are entering that space, but there's still a little bit of the stink. So, but maybe the stink is cleared out by this time. We'll see how it goes.
Yes, yeah, I think this will usher in that new era of using it perhaps more. I don't want to say more authentically, but more authentically in a way, to build actual connections with customers and with people who need you and need the interaction right now versus just pushing a product. And that is something that has been coming up a lot that I've seen in the indie creator community and even at my day job with, okay, now I have to rethink about my marketing and my messaging. It's like I had these plans for 2020. This is what I was going to do. And now, none of my posts are relevant. Nothing that I was going to talk about is relevant anymore. So I have to shift and change that messaging. So I'm curious to know how that process was for you and how you made that shift to, really kind of combining the checking in and the talking about the jewelry and the product.
Yeah. So I think that, thinking about messaging, I got the download. I don't know how much of it was news-based and how much of it was intuition-based of like, oh, I have to stay the fuck inside. Sorry, is it okay if I swear or should I try to curb it?
We create the rules here, so we're
okay, cool. Anyway, so I've been paying attention to this stuff going on for a while, even when it was just in China, in part because I go to Tucson for the gym show every year. And there was a big, like, people were really concerned about that because there's probably a third of the come from China, although a lot of them are coming from Hong Kong, not mainland China. So there was definitely concern of like, ooh, is that to be a hotspot for this? What precautions we all need to collectively make to make this safe for everybody. So I've been paying attention to that for a while, and so before everything got shut down, I had decided like I'm not doing these shows like the weekend of the 14th and the 15th. Mm-hmm. That weekend for me last year was fucking fire, and it was a really hard decision to not do those shows, but I called it like way before the shows called it. Because I just didn't feel right about it, and I knew that they had to like weigh their own, things because they have a different calculus in that. But I knew for myself, like, I didn't feel right saying, "Please come out to support my business," when I know in my heart of hearts that puts your health at risk. Like, fuck that. That is so wrong. Like, even from like take out that I care about my customers and I want them to be healthy. Let's pretend I don't care about anybody and I just care about my bottom line.
Yeah.
Even my bottom line says, make sure my customers stay alive so they can still purchase from me in the future. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so that was really, really clear to me several weeks ago. And so I sent out an email several weeks ago basically saying like, we're not doing anything in person for a minute. Wait till this, till we see what happens next. So that was my first messaging piece. And as far as what I sent out this morning, well, let me back up. I've been putting out social posts, kind of, I feel like just checking in and, trying to keep up my social plan and posting schedule more or less. Just to stay in touch with people. I don't want them to forget about my brand. I don't want to be like, push the sales. But I also like, if somebody wants to be supporting local business, I would love for them to support mine, which has been really great. Like, last month wasn't like record-breaking sales, but it also didn't suck too bad. So, I'm really grateful for the people who did. There were definitely some people who consciously bought from me as I could tell, knowing their buying patterns and stuff like that. And like, you are consciously choosing, like, you're voting for me right now because you want to see me on the other side of this. And so I really felt that, and it felt really, really good. And so continue my social media messaging and stuff like that. I did a couple of videos. I did a live video, like kind of almost like, it turned into like almost like a guided meditation, which was super fun. I have a really beautiful like nature area near my house. It's just a couple blocks away. So I walked out early morning. And then this email this morning, I wrote it yesterday, but scheduled it for this morning. Just about like connecting with people and checking in. And there are so many people like, when I send out an email, and I don't know if it's because of my brand voice, or if it's just because of like, the connections that I have with my customers, but I send out emails, and almost every single email I send out, I get personal replies back. Like as though I had written that email for the one person, which is like about my favorite thing. Yes. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, so I really wanted to check in with people. Yeah. I've also heard a couple, like, listening to a podcast the other day that I'm pretty new to listening to. I wish I could remember it to shout it out right now, but it's delightful. And the guy was like, yeah, if you find that nobody, like, and you don't have anybody to talk to about this stuff in your life, like what's going on in the world, like, drop into my DMs. Like, let's talk about it. I will talk to you about this. This is a crazy time, and everybody needs to be processing it together. If that's your style. I was like, man, that's who I am too, So anyway.
Yes.
That's my messaging story.
I love it. And I have been seeing that where people say, just reply to this email, message me,
Yeah.
whatever platform I'm on, and just talk.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice because usually we follow people and it's kind of, we know that, especially if they're a big name, like it's not a personal reply, it's, someone on their team, right? Or their
Right.
assistant or something like that. And now it feels like everyone really is coming together and listening to each other and trying to
Mhm.
help as much as they can. And in a way, like that's a really beautiful thing that is coming from this,
Mhm.
despite the darkness,
Mhm.
but that is the light in it. I
Yeah.
love
So,
it.
something that's been good in a way about this is that, like, so I've always been this way where I'm always thinking about people. Like, it's like I'm like clicking through like who I know and what they're doing and making sure they're okay in my brain. And if I'm not sure, maybe I call them. And there are customers that get into that loop too. But I feel like a creep to just be like, hey, so I've been thinking about you, or how's it going? Like, but there are two that I think of pretty regularly in particular. One of them I don't think I've ever met in person, and the other one I've only met in person once, and that was probably like 3 years ago. Um, but I just really adore both of them. And I've been so thankful that both of them have like commented recently. So I've been like, okay, she's okay. Cool. Flipped around.
Yes. Just checking in with everybody. Gotta make their
There's like a satisfaction of like, oh, now I have permission to check in on people if I feel like I really need to. So I've been doing a little bit of that, although not a lot, because I still feel like a little bit of a creep,
I know I've been doing that too, where I've just checking in with friends and I'm like, do they think I'm being weird right now? Like, I just want to know how they're doing. Like, are you
Right.
okay? Like, you holding up all right?
Yeah.
I
I
think it's
think people appreciate it. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
I feel like I
Yeah.
feel good when I'm hearing from, even I know there were a lot of emails coming from all the brands that were saying how they were handling, the
Mm-hmm.
situation. But when I do see the small indie brands land in my inbox and just talk about how they're doing right now, I'm so happy to hear from them. I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm glad you guys are, staying positive and keeping moving and telling us how we can help. All of those things. It's been great. So I personally
Yeah.
as a customer love to hear from you guys.
Good. Good. I've been loving to hear from other brands too. And it's been so interesting how, like, there's a couple in particular that have really, like, hit the nail on the head. And one that's a bigger company, is Scott's Cheap Flights. Do you follow them?
Oh yes, we have followed them. Yeah.
Yeah, so I finally followed I got to start getting their emails because I have a friend who's obsessed with them. Never purchased any flights through them.
That's us too. Never
Um,
purchased.
yeah, but the emails that they sent out, like, I was just like, you, I, I will buy from you like forever now. Like, I cannot wait to purchase one of your products. You are so good. So I think that there's something that's really valuable in this moment of like, how do you reach out to your customers? How do you show them who your brand is? And I think that for good and bad, right?
Yes.
Like there's some people who are like, yeah, physical space is still open. I'm like, oh, you showed me who
What?
you are.
Yes. Yes. I was thinking the same thing. Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And going back to what you had said earlier, that you kind of knew that one weekend. So that weekend of March 13th. So my birthday was March 13th, that Friday.
Oh,
And
happy birthday.
it was a strange birthday. And I knew things
I
were coming.
bet.
And I was just like, oh, this is weird. And I saw your messages coming out and I was like, yes, I do think we all need to call it at this point and try to stay
Yeah,
inside as much as we can. And it's hard to do that. If you're looking at everyone else, they're all acting, well, it's going to be okay. And I'm just going to keep
right.
going. And you start to kind of doubt yourself, like, am I crazy? Like, should I be doing this? But there's that inner knowing that something told you, just not the time.
Yeah. I felt like I I really contemplated it a lot, and I was like, it was I feel like I was, I know I wasn't the first, because I think that there were other people who were getting there around the same time, but I felt like I was on the first wave of it, and I thought about it like maybe, okay, I know for myself, this is the choice I have to make. Like, it is just totally clear to me. And so by me making that choice right now, like, I'm showing leadership and making it less weird for other people when they choose to make this choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. And we're kind of going into this, but I just would love to talk a little more personally too. But how has this time been for you, just as a person, and not necessarily just on the business aspect? I have been following you, so I see your lovely Instagram posts, and they do, like, I love seeing those. You always have such pretty imagery and all those
Thank
things.
you.
So I know you've shared personally how you're doing, and I would love to talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm doing pretty well. It's like such a weird time. I realized in this time that I have been like going ever since I moved to San Diego. This summer, that will be 8 years.
Oh my, wow.
That is a long time to grind.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like different things. And there have definitely been like, you know, definitely like take space, you know, like I go out of town all the time. And like, you know, when I go back to Alaska, I often like stay for 2.5 weeks. But there's always a like, okay, and then here's the thing that's next, you know? Or like, okay, got to get that relaxation in. Let me get it in hard. And it's not, so I haven't had a time that felt like amorphous like this since before I moved to San Diego. And in reflecting on it, like I had a lot of like time that felt amorphous like this in my life, like over the course of my life. Like, okay, wait, let me go back. Let me tell you something that you don't know about me.
Ooh.
I am the proudest quitter. I love to quit shit.
I love this.
It does not serve me. I'm going to quit it. So I've quit a lot of jobs. I've quit a lot of things that didn't work for me. And then been like, I don't know what's next, but I know it's not this. So I've had like a fair amount of amorphous time in my life where I'm like, I don't know what's next. Like, here I am, present in the moment. And I'm in this time right now where it feels like that. And I'm like, oh, well, this is difficult in its own way, but also kind of nice. Maybe I needed this. Like, I've gone on these walks recently, which we're still allowed to do as of last night. So you can do neighborhood walks. I'm like aggressively avoiding people. Some people haven't gotten the message that you're supposed to get away from me. I'm like, get the fuck away from me. Get off. I had this woman this morning. I'm like, are you trying to get closer to touch me? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's super crazy, but I'm pretty good at avoiding people. And so there have been days I'm like over 12,000 steps in a day because I was just like, I'm just gonna go on a little walk in the morning, I'm gonna go on a little walk in the evening, and then I'm like, oh, I am like walking, you know? I feel so good. I'm sleeping a lot. I'm eating really good food. My partner's here now, but he wasn't here for the first week of it. And I was just like laying around and it felt really good. And there's things that I can be working on work-wise, and I've done some of them, but like really like have done a lot of just like laying around, putting together some puzzles, cleaning the kitchen, mop the floors one day, you know, like refolded some linens. And it felt really, 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 really nice. I do want to be, I've got into a stage of like kind of some like guilt around like not doing more and wanting to accomplish some things. But it's also been like really like, okay, maybe I really needed this time to have some space and to recalibrate and to really get back into my center. Like right before I moved to San Diego for like a year and a half, almost 2 years before that, I was working as a substitute teacher, which sounds like everybody's nightmare job, and it was turned out to be my dream job. I loved that job. It was so much fun. It was the funnest job I have ever had. Like, seriously, like it was probably funner than what I do now.
Oh, that is a bold statement.
Yeah, funner. Like, not better all overall. Like, I make way more money. I have way more interesting things to do. But like now, but it was the funnest job. I had so much fun. Like, I can count on one hand the days that were not fun. It was ridiculously fun. And then I get off work by like about 3:00, and it's like I had a whole other day, and it was just amazing. It's like I'm reminded of that time in my life where it was just like by partway through the day, I had already done enough that my contribution to society was already enough. And so I'm trying to invite myself back into a space like that where it's like I've already contributed enough. Like,
yeah,
like I'm fine. Like I can go on a like 2-hour long neighborhood walk and take pictures of the flowers in bloom, and like, oh, there's some interesting tree bark. I'll take a picture of that. Like, it's really, really, really great. And my partner just got here. We've been long distance for over a year. He's got a job in Atlanta, and we knew that he would either I would move there or he would move back here. But it was 14 months, and he was already in the midst of moving. Like, he had moved out of his apartment and was at an Airbnb when all this started happening. So he had to sell his car and rent a car to drive cross country. So now he's here, and so we're like doing the work of integrating, which is really like lovely to have the space, the energetic space to do that. So that's how I'm doing. That's a lot to tell you, but that's how I'm doing. It's really nice.
I love that. And I think it is important to talk about all this stuff because there are a lot of messages I feel like coming out right now of what everybody's doing with this time. And you know, there's a lot of talk too that this is an important time to go within and for people to be reflective and to use that time, I suppose, wisely. But then there's also a lot of, okay, well, use the time wisely, do this, do that. So I've also been in that space where it's like, am I doing enough right now? Like, what should I be doing? Is it okay to just sit here right now because I'm tired? Like, it's a strange space to be in of, you know, I feel like I'm on the weekends in particular because I work a typical 9-to-5 job, but you start to feel like a little bit lost. Like, so wait, I do what now?
Right.
It's like,
right.
oh, maybe it's time to just be quiet or kind of do what comes to me and have that, you know, availability and time to do that. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch how everyone manages this for sure.
Well, and there's so many things I like to do that I just don't make time for because they're not part of my business.
Right. Yeah. Like, bring out that coloring book. Sit down with that.
Right? Wait, can I shout out another small business?
Yes, absolutely.
My friend Kim of Kim Pose. She has these really gorgeous coloring pages on her website, and you can buy the pack of them for $1. Oh,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, highly recommend. I haven't done it yet, but I've seen them. My other friend Tiana oh man, I'm forgetting her business name. Shoot. Tiana's business with beautiful hand sewn things. She downloaded them and painted them, and they are gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, I love
like
that.
You could actually hang this thing on your wall and be like, "There's the art," and not be like, you know, it's not. It doesn't look like a coloring page. It looks just like, wow, you made a beautiful art.
That's awesome. We could all have whole walls full of stuff we created during quarantine time.
Right? You could print them out small and make them into a card to send to your mom.
Yes.
Your mom might like a card during this time.
Yes.
I don't know.
Check in on mom. Check in on mom. I've been trying to do that too, and they get frustrated when you check in too much. My mom actually said in a text chain, she said, "I'm just going to stop telling you guys what I'm doing because I thought it would comfort you, but it doesn't seem to do that." I was like, oh. It just leads to more questions of, wait, what are you doing? Why are you going there? No, do not go to the ATM.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Oh, my.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So everybody check in on Mama, send a card.
yeah. They like cards. They like cards. Okay, but also, you know what? Something I did earlier in this quarantine, I got my favorite chocolatier in the world, Missionary Chocolates from Portland, Oregon, who I discovered like I think over 10 years ago and have been like a fan ever since. They had a sale, which they never have sales. I think probably to clear out some inventory so it
Yep.
wouldn't, be stale or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, in addition to buying myself a ridiculous amount of chocolate, I sent little boxes of truffles to both of my parents as a surprise,
Oh.
and it meant so much to them. Um, so you or listeners or whatever, like my local recommendation would be Sugar Mama Caramels.
Yes. Yes. Love
Because
those.
like who doesn't, what parent doesn't want to receive like a fucking bag of caramels and like a little note saying like, love you, like hope this helps you get through quarantine happily, whatever. Like your parents want that, your grandparents want that, your extended family wants that. It'll make them so freaking happy. And you'll
Yes.
support a small business at the same time.
Exactly. And those are great ways, great examples of ways we can support the small businesses right now. And gifts are a big thing. Actually, I was talking to another indie business owner, and she said that most of her sales during this time have been gifts. And she's like, I just
I
love
love
this.
it.
And she's been packaging them
Yeah.
up and putting them with the notes and everything. And
Mm,
it's again another beautiful thing that is coming from this time that, can give us like a little bit of joy there.
totally. Totally. A lot of joy, even.
Yes. And so thinking of along these lines that we've been talking about being creative with our coloring pages and things, for all creators, there's some type of creative process, right? And I'm sure you have a process when you're thinking of new pieces to create and as you're making them, but has that shifted at all for you during this time, your creative process, or is it kind of a way to return to the normalcy, perhaps?
My creative process is like, well, I have not been in my studio very much since this happened. It just has not felt like what I want to spend time with right now. When I've sat down to make things, it's mostly felt like, is this even relevant? Um, that said, like, so I have a style of earrings that's really difficult to make. They're kind of like, it looks like a cluster of grapes almost, and they take forever. I've only ever released like 5 pairs of them. And even at like above $200, they're still like that is less than minimum wage for how long this took for me. Like way less than minimum wage. But they're what I produce when I am like, I have no idea what to make, but I know I need to sit my ass down in the studio. And so I'll do a layout of a pair of those and start on it, because there is some structure to that. And I know that they're going to turn out really cool. And they take a really long time. And so by the time I'm sick of making them, I've been in my studio for quite a while, working on one pair, and they can kind of sometimes get me back into the swing of things. I did that a couple weeks ago, week or two. I don't, all time is now. I did that on this quarantine and made a really beautiful pair, and a lot of people really liked them. So yeah, there might be some more of those in the future. This week I've been working on more digital things, but yeah. So that's as far as creative process. I've been also doing other things, like I'm working on an art exchange with some people, to do like a 2D art exchange. And yeah, like it's been different. I haven't felt as drawn to making things, and there's not a pressure. I would like to be making more things though, because even though shows have been canceled, through probably won't have another show until at least May.
Yeah.
I do know that there will be big shows at some point this year, and so it would be nice to just have like what would it look like if I had just like a massive quantity of really cool stuff and can just like pull from that inventory instead of like working all week to make sure I have enough inventory.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And you're talking about collaborating with other indie businesses and other creators. Um, what what have you been exploring in this time to help your fellow creators and small business owners? I know there's many ways we can, but anything in particular that you have been working on?
Yeah, I've mostly been just trying to shout people out on social media. Like when I get an opportunity to, or purchasing their products. If it's something that I already want, can afford. I mean, there's definitely things that I want, but I'm like, oh man, that's not really like in the budget right now. But yeah, just like I feel like participating in social media feels important right now. I know that like I've experienced a little bit of a social media drop off in engagement recently, which I'm not sure why that is, but I think it's something that's. I think that that's helpful for other makers to get that feedback of like, this is valuable. I'm commenting on it. So yeah, and then I've also been checking them a lot too, like, and as I said before, like I'm always like mentally checking on like, oh, I wonder what that person's doing. Wonder what that person's doing. And some of them I'm finding out because I'm actually talking to them. But yeah, so that's my big thing right now. I thought about doing like giveaways, and I'm thinking that I'm going to do a giveaway. Well, doing a giveaway at my event on Saturday. And there might be some other local goods in there, but the main thing is pending a drop off from that small business. So I actually need to email them today. So yeah.
I mean, that's posing a whole nother set of challenges that while, you guys are open, still selling products, you have to now figure out, how am I shipping these things? How are they getting to people, making sure they get to people in the most socially distanced way possible, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, so for me, it's easy anyway, because like years ago, I allowed like pickups and like meetups. That is not worth my time or anybody else's. Like my shipping is actually like, it's actually a little bit less it averages out to be right about what cost is for shipping it, between the actual shipping charge and then like the label and the packaging or whatever. Maybe it might average to be a little bit more in the customer's favor, but so my shipping is $4 for the base price of it. Like, it is not worth your time to drive across town, spend your time, like, because even if like it's the most basic pickup, we're at least, hi, how are you doing? And like I'm like frantically running around before you get here being like, what embarrassing thing do I have laying out? Let me pick up the actual trash from the floor of my living room. You know what I mean? So like, because you're gonna like look in my house for 20 seconds. No, we don't need to do that. Like, why? I remember once meeting somebody at a coffee shop, and they were late, and I was like, after I calculated it, I was like, that took like a solid 2 hours of my time and a solid 2 hours of her time. And that customer is also self-employed. It was nice because we ended up having a coffee together, and she's really lovely, and I like her. But like, I can just, one of us just pays the $4,
right?
And then we both get that time. That's a collective 4 hours. Like, what? No, let's ship that shit. Mm-hmm. And like local shipping, oftentimes, like if I get it in the mail in the morning, you will probably get it the next day.
Yeah.
Like, why bother? So anyway, I ship already. Like, I don't do pickups or anything like that because it's just not worth like the logistics of it. Like, it just is not worth it for $4. Mm-hmm. So I just made shipping free.
Yeah. I've seen it places, they're still trying to do their local like drop off, like contactless drop off. And I just imagine that's gotta be, I mean, you gotta think about so much now, even just before leaving the house. So to get to your car and get out there, and it seems stressful. So
I will say though, okay, so I'm just gonna say, shout it out. The company that I'm waiting for delivery is the Book Catapult in South Park.
Oh yes.
And I ordered puzzles from them, but one of them isn't in stock yet, so they've been waiting till that's in stock to drop it off. The other ones all of them at my house at once. But I have to say, like, their shipping on it ended up being really cheap, which in hindsight, I felt bad that I was like, oh, I could have just paid a few dollars and not had you come drop it off at my house. But I also really like that they're going to drop it off at my house.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're special friends now. I'm like, oh, the book catapult. They like that I ordered like some little puzzles for them so much that they're going to drive that shit to my house. Like, they know where I live now.
You're a VIP now with that.
I feel like a VIP. Like, I'm like, you're giving me this special, like, it's a special delivery. It's not just mail.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yes, I love the Book Catapult, and I have been following indie bookstores very closely because that was kind of my first love in the indie space. Indieland used to be a website devoted to indie bookstores and presses, but they have really been going hard. I mean, they're dropping off, they're doing curbside pickup when possible or where possible. They are, putting one person in the store all day to manage these orders and take the calls.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to them that they have really, really been rocking it and doing what they can.
Yeah. I frankly feel kind of embarrassed that I hadn't thought of them before. I had ordered some puzzles from Amazon, which I got some really cool puzzles. But then I was like looking at Amazon and all the puzzle prices all like skyrocketed. And I was like, well, this is some shit. Where would I normally get this puzzle? I was like, oh, normally I would just drag on the Book Catapult because they have a beautiful selection.
Really good puzzles.
But they have really good everything. Yes. Like, the biggest problem with going there is that you're going to spend too much money and too much time in there because there's like, you're going to like come across a children's book and be like, well, shit, I got to get this for that person who I wasn't going to buy a present for, but now I feel like I have to buy this book, so I'm going to give it to that person who's got a baby. Mm-hmm. That's my experience in there. I love the Book Catapult.
Yes, they are great. I love them. We've gotten so many gifts there, actually. When you said that, I'm like, oh, yeah. Crosby and I have bought gifts there for people.
Oh, yeah. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I saw a thing online yesterday or today about like how like right now is what we're like, who we're supporting right now is who's going to be around in the after times or whatever. Did you see that?
Yes.
And like we can choose Amazon to be the provider of everything, or we can choose like small local businesses. And if you want small local businesses, like you need to get on it.
Yeah.
Because there are some that aren't gonna like, that's one of my like I've had a lot of anxieties during this time about different things, like what if everybody I know dies and all that shit. But one of the things that has been present for me is, what if I watch like the dreams of all my friends die?
Yeah.
What if I like what if like nobody I know actually dies, but what if I just watch everybody's fucking dreams die? Mm-hmm. And that's really like really, really possible right now.
Yeah. That's why with Indieland, when I was looking at this, I was like, I have to do something, because all these folks, like, one of the reasons I created, Indieland and wanted to create a podcast and do all these things is to show people, look at these people who create a living doing what they love and bringing more light to other people because they're lit up by what they're doing. And to see that in jeopardy is a little scary. And at the same time, I've been seeing, though, everybody rise up to the occasion. And do some beautiful things. And at the same time, I'm thinking, well, some really amazing things and innovations might come from this from all of us who are trying to do our own thing. We could see really cool things start to happen. And even with some of the others I've talked to, they've said that now it's really pushed them into the online space where they thought, oh, I'm not really going to mess with that. It's not really my thing. And now they're saying, oh, wait, I'm doing okay with this. Maybe this can be a thing. And it's a reinvention. And so I'm hoping that for a lot of the indie businesses that's what happens. But I know at the same time, realistically, there will probably be some people that aren't able to continue doing it full time, or maybe they'll be able to come back at some point. But it is one of those things that gets me a bit. But
but I think that there's a lot of, a friend was asking me about this morning who's not in this space at all. And she's like, businesses are going to survive. And I was like, you know what? Everybody who I know Like every one of my peers, they are all doing this because they are scrappy as hell.
Yes.
So like I feel like if anybody can survive the end times and find a new way to thrive, it's us,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. I read an article from an indie bookstore owner, I think in New York it was, and he said, well, you know, this we're gonna survive this, we're gonna come out differently. And he said, but you know what? I didn't buy a bookstore to avoid all risk. It's,
Right, right, right.
you know kind of what you're stepping into and you're prepared for it. And I think at the
Yeah,
same time we're going to have people who come out of this, and I'm probably one of them, who comes out of it saying, why didn't I take the leap sooner to do the things
yeah,
that I want? Because now we're looking at this time, and gosh, even when Kobe Bryant passed away and seeing like how life can be cut very short, and you think, oh, well, here's where I'm at. Where have I really wanted to be? Why am I not there?
yeah.
Why have I stalled that? And I think, I hope that maybe we come out of this time with even more creators, possibly.
I think it's possible because there's so many people like who are spending their time at home creating things right now.
Yes.
And I think there's a biological imperative around that. Like, you know, all of the baking goods are sold out for a reason because there's actually like a biological imperative of like, oh, I have to like create these things, you know? And
Yes.
like for a lot of people it's baking, but for other people it might be painting or like making jewelry or whatever. And a lot of people are exploring their creativity right now
Mm-hmm.
and like re-falling in love with it. And there is this like liminal space that we're in and that we're going to be in for a while, even if, you know, even if coronavirus went away tomorrow, we're still like kind of a liminal space where we're becoming anew. And I think that even if there are people whose dreams change or their businesses don't survive it through this and, you know, they do something different, that there are small businesses and people like hustling to share their gifts with the world. I don't think that that's going to ever go away. That's that is part of like the human character.
Yes. Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about this right now, but I was going to ask you, what do you hope that people will learn from this time, or do with this time inside?
Mm, so many things. I hope that people get more personal time from this. You know, that that people take advantage of that personal time, whether it's being just with themselves or being with their close family members, um, and soak that in. And I also really hope that people recenter in their values. That's been something that I've been thinking about a lot during this of like, what do I want to offer to the world? What are my values around this? And I've been realizing, I can't remember if I told you this before we started recording or not, but that I've been hustling ever since I got to San Diego 8 years ago.
Yep.
And as amazing as that has been, like that level of hustle and like not allow, like I don't have a garden here. That's so weird to me. Um, like, like I need, whether or not I have a garden, I need the space to have a garden, like the time to have a garden, whatever I do with that. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that's part of my values is to cultivate in life. So whether I'm cultivating a garden or I'm cultivating friendships or community. You know, before when I was in Alaska, I was on the community council of my neighborhood. You know, things like that that I'm just not doing here because I don't really have the space. But that's part of my values to be part of that, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I'm being reminded of that in this time. And I hope that other people are reminded and recentered in their values during this time.
Yes. Yes. I think that is very, very true, that this is the time now that it'll come to light as we're all sitting here thinking, okay, what do I do next? What do I do now? And perhaps what naturally comes up
Mm-hmm.
are the things that, you know, we've been putting off and that we actually really want to spend our time on. So
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm hoping for as well.
Right. Also, like, I was thinking about this the other day. A friend of mine got laid off from a job that she hated. And I feel like this was like getting fired or losing your job in previous times. Like there was some level of shame, like cultural shame around it, or even quitting jobs. And that's no longer the case. Like that's not the case in this time period. So like, I feel like this is a time when people can like make some shifts that they've wanted to make, but maybe felt like, ooh, if I do that, people are going to judge me. Like, no, that's over now. That's over now. You can do like change it up. And then if you change it to something that doesn't work for you, quit that shit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh yes. I love your quitting thing because I actually often called myself kind of a quitter because I was one of those kids growing up. My mom raised us where she was like, "Hey, if you do a sport or something and you don't like it and you don't want to do it, I'm not making you stay there. Get the heck out."
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to learn too, to recognize what isn't working for me, acknowledge it,
Yeah.
and take a different course of action. And I hope that this time does help people do that, to see, you know what, this part of my life has not been working for me.
Yeah.
An example for me is that, you know, I work from home at a traditional job. So I have to be at my desk at a regular set of hours. And so when we got told to stay inside, I was like, wait a second. My day-to-day Monday through Friday life is really not that different because I sat at my desk inside my house all day. And that just kind of bing, that little light that goes on, being like,
Yeah, me too.
oh, maybe that's not something I want. Maybe I really should be getting out a little bit more, or,
Yeah.
you know, I do get out on the weekends, but it's one of those things that makes you really think about, that's not what I want. That's not how I want to be. So
yeah,
absolutely. Look here, what other things I had wanted to address with you, but actually this is very important. How can people support you right now?
Ooh, I love that question. Well, I have an event that's happening this Saturday. I don't know if people will see this before then, but I'm planning on, if that is good or even not miserable, I'll do it multiple times. So first of all, follow me on social media. My name is KassiGrunder on Facebook and Instagram. And you can sign up for a mailing list on my website. My website is KassiGrunder, Kassi Grunder. And would love for you to engage on social media and shop on my website. And if you see that I'm having an event online, I would really love for you to come, because part of the reason why I haven't done these sooner or more often is because I feel really shy about it, but nobody's going to come to my freaking party. So I'd really love it if you came to my party. But I'd also would really love it if you just shop online too, or tell your friends about me, or just like my posts on social media, because it makes me feel really good. And it's just little old me. It's not some like professional social media person, just little old me saying the things on social media. Take my own product photos and put them out there. So if you like something, just say you like it, because you feel really validated.
And you will get a personalized email
Yeah.
response from.
Yeah, I try to be good about responding to people, although sometimes I'm really slow.
It happens though when you are someone, who does it all by yourself. The other side of it is that you have to take a little bit of time to get to everybody.
Yeah, it's like if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer yet, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go away and think about that, and then I'm like, a week goes by and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't email that person back. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And to the other indie businesses out there, and other indie creators, what advice would you have for them right now, or words of wisdom, or perhaps just even words of comfort, we can call it?
So first, it's like, you're scrappy. you've got this. Like, you didn't start a business because you didn't have any skills to start a business, because you had a lot of skills and you have a lot of different ways of being able to do things. You can do a lot of different things, which I know that about you, even if I don't know you, because you have a business. Like, you are scrappy. You know a lot of different things. So you can get through this. I also would assume that you are able to be really lean, and run your life and run your business in a lean way. And I would advise that right now, even if you're still making lots of money. We're in uncertain times. If you can stock away some cash, that's the thing to do. And also to just be with yourself in this time. Let your, like, if you feel creative one day, do a lot of creative stuff. And if you don't feel creative one day, it's really okay to sit on the couch. That's really okay.
Love it. And I one thing that I want to make sure that I ask every person who's interviewed on this, because I'd love to close it on a positive note, but what is bringing you joy right now?
Actually, a lot. Like, but I think the thing that's bringing me the most joy right now is the spring, and hearing the birds chirping constantly, and seeing flowers in bloom, and knowing that even though us humans are having a really great, like, crazy time, like, the rest of nature is having a great time because it's spring.
Yeah.
And it's continued, like, the world is continuing to turn, and it's just the spring. It's giving me lots and lots of joy.
Love it. I love it. And is there anything else that you want to express or share about this time, or even just about what advice or words of wisdom you have for anybody right now?
Ooh. I guess just to be present with what is, and so that you can be ready to roll with the changes and allow the changes. Life is full of changes, and right now it's like a little bit more obvious, that there are changes that are happening, but there's always changes. So stay flexible, and be ready to roll with all the changes. Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
I think I feel complete. Do you feel complete?
I do.
Good.
I love the complete. We are complete.
Yeah.
Even in the chaos, we are complete here.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Thank you for doing this. It's been a long time in the making, and it's funny that we're doing it on Zoom now instead of in a studio.
I love it.
But
I love it, love it, love it.